Okay, Art Stars, here we are at the drawing table. We're going to draw Teddiursa of Pokemon, and as you may or may not know, he is number 216 in the Pokédex. And we're going to start off toward the top part of our paper by drawing a big oval. And I'm just going to kind of rough this in a little bit dark. And that's all you got to do too. And I want you to keep the pencil lines nice and loose and light because we're just kind of roughing in the shapes right now till we get them down to what we want. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the middle and come over just a little bit, and I'm going to put a curved line in there. This is just going to be a guideline for his face. All right, so underneath that, and I'm going to draw almost an O. I'm just going to come down, and I'm going to make his body a little fatter at the bottom, taper it in a little bit more toward his head. Like that, keeping it nice and loose and rough. And now we know that we can get his whole body on the page. So what I want to do next is we're going to give him a couple of ears. And I'm just going to come on both sides of his head, but I'm going to start over on this side. And I'm just going to make a big kind of a rough in a circle, kind of like a donut shape. Look at this. And I think that looks pretty good for now. So I'm going to put just a little curl in there. It's going to kind of look like a number 6. And that's going to indicate the inside part of his ear. Now I'm doing this all rough like this. This is called a rough sketch. And I'm just kind of breaking down everything on Teddy here to basic geometric shapes like circles and ovals, things like that. And these will just help us to be a guideline for when we define our final drawing. Okay, so I'm going to come over to the other side now, and I'm just going to kind of rough in his other ear. Just kind of make a big, like a kind of a circle, but we don't want to complete it. We just want to stop here because it's going to look like it goes behind his head. Okay, you got that? All right, now we're going to give him a nose. So right down and just past the halfway mark of his head. If you kind of divide his head in half like this, we're just going to come down a little bit. We're going to rough in a little nose, and we're just going to make a little oval for that. Okay, and on one side, kind of even with the nose, we're going to come over a little bit, and we're going to draw a circle like so. And on the other side, we're going to make another shape, but it's going to be a little more oval because his head is kind of turned this way. It's kind of looking that way, and we don't want him to be right in the middle of the face because we want to look like his head's turned a little bit. Okay, let's give him part of his mouth. So we're going to come down just a little bit below the nose and come to whatever kind of the edge of it. And we're going to start right there. And we're just going to kind of make a little bit of a smiley line there. Okay. And then we're going to come down and a little curve like this on one side. And then on the other side, we're not going to start at the end here. We're going to come in a little bit, and then we're going to make the other part. Okay. Now it's starting to look like Teddy a little bit. All right, let's give him some arms and legs. So I'm going to start right down here. I'm going to come down from the chin just a little bit. I'm going to bring his arm out, and it just kind of sweeps out like this, and it curves back toward his head. So that arm looks like it's a little bit behind his head. And then over on this side, I'm going to do the same thing, but this time it's going to stick out more. Okay, so I'm going to start right in here, right where the head meets the body. I'm just going to come out, and this one's going to be a little bit bigger because this arm looks like it's a little bit closer to you, the viewer, looking at it. Okay, and then you can decide when we go to finish the final lines if you want them to be that size or a little bigger, a little smaller. It's up to you, but we'll tweak it in a little bit. All right, let's go down and give him a foot. And so I'm just going to make an oval, kind of overlapping right here where that body line is. We're just going to go right over top of that. And remember, Teddiursa is kind of like a teddy bear who loves honey, of course. And, you know, he's always got it down. He's got honey in his paws all the time, and he makes different flavors of honey, and he mixes in different kind of pollens and berries and stuff like that. So if you want to later, you can put some honey on him, but I just thought that was cute. All right, let's give him another foot. Now this time his foot's pointing down, so he's kind of one up and one down like he's running. So I'm just going to come right from the edge of where the body is for the first foot. I'm just going to come over a little bit, and then I'm going to shape in the other foot. And it's just like a big U, like that. Okay, so now this foot looks like it's a little bit behind his body. And then we're going to give him his little nubby tail. So I'm just going to come up a little bit again from this foot along the edge of his body. And I'm going to kind of shape in a big circle. His tail's more of a big circle, something like that. Okay, let's take a look at that for a second and then see what we want to do next. Okay, how does your Teddy look so far? I'm pretty happy with mine except for one thing. I think I made his arms a little bit too small. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to come out from this one arm, and I'm just going to go out past it a little bit and make it a little bit bigger. Look at this. And then I've got this little eraser. This is called a mono eraser, and it's just got this real skinny little tip here, and you can get in there and you can erase little details. So I'm just going to erase that out a little bit, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this arm over here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger because he just doesn't look quite right. That's better. Okay, and I can erase these lines too because I don't need them anymore. Know what I mean? Okay, that looks pretty good, and I think I'm going to make his tail a little fatter too. And you can do this with your drawings. As long as you're in the sketch phase, you can change them and tweak them any way you want. So you're really happy with the lines. Okay, I can take this little line out too, because that was just kind of a guideline for his face. Just to make sure we got the mouth and everything in the right place. Okay, so let's start giving him a little bit of detail now. First, I'm going to go over to his ear on the left, and I'm going to make a little kind of number 6 backwards with this one. Look at this. And this one looks pretty good for now. Let's give him a little final shape to his eyes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in a little bit darker now. Kind of finalize that shape of his eye, and we'll give him a little highlight on there like this little bright spot. And I'm going to come over to this eye, and I'll tell you a little professional hack trick that you can do. How many of you guys know what this is? This is a circle guide, and it's got, of course, all kind of different kinds of circles. And if you put this on your drawing and you match it up with the right size, you can make a perfect circle. So for this eye on Teddy, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to come in here. I'm just going to trace this. And now, look how perfect that is. Isn't that sweet? And I can even do the same thing for the little highlight. 3/16. So I'm going to go on one side. I'm going to make that one perfect. And that's this 3/16. So I'm going to do the same circle on the other eye. And this is going to be really cool. Now, you don't need one of these. You can just use a pencil. But look how perfect that is, which I think is really sweet. So let's go now and give him a little more detail. Let's go to his mouth. And if you're happy with the shape of his mouth, we can kind of finalize that line as well. Teddy looks pretty happy in this picture. I think he's going to get some honey off Winnie the Pooh or something. So I'm going to darken those lines, and then let's give him a little tongue line right here. Just a little sweeping line that comes down. And I'm going to come in and give him a final nose shape, and I'm just going to put that right where I want it. And then once you make everything darker, then you can go in and you can erase a little bit and get rid of some of those lines. Brush them off. I don't like to use my hand because then you get the oils on your fingers on there. So I'm going to take a paintbrush and just brush it out of the way. All right, now Teddy's really starting to look like Teddy. Shape that out a little bit more. Okay, and Teddy has his cheeks. I'm going to kind of define this line a little bit coming around the bottom of his head. I'm going to stop right there for now. I'm just going to come over to his eye here on the left-hand side and draw that little, there's a little yellow part of his face, kind of where his muzzle is. I'm going to bring the line down on that side. And then over here, I'm going to come, let's say this is the bottom of the eye. I'm going to come a little bit up higher on there. And then I'm just going to come in and rough in a curled line, or curved line, I should say, that comes back toward his mouth, like that. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, now I'm going to come back over to this line here where this ear should be. I'm just going to define this line a little bit more. So, actually, I want to come in a little bit and make that a little bit smaller. Yeah, like that. Oop. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to come up here and tweak his ear a little bit. And this time when I define that line, I'm not going to make it go completely around. So I'm just going to shape this in a little bit more. And I'm going to make his ear a little bit bigger too, because I feel like I'm making all these things a little bit too small. Okay, and then I'm going to come in from the other side. And it's just a curved line, almost like a big giant oval. Okay, and I like this. I like kind of the ear hole, that number 6 kind of ear hole that we made. That looks really good. So I'm just going to take my mono eraser. I'm going to erase out all these lines that I don't want, because now they're just getting in our way. They're just a distraction. So let's get rid of them. And if you draw nice and light and loose like I told you, these lines, they're easy to erase. But if you make them too heavy, then they leave kind of a shadow line behind. And you might even see that on mine. I'm not sure how your video is picking up my pencil, but you might get that. And that's okay, because I want to make it darker so you can see what I'm doing. All right, let's just keep shaping his head out here now. We're going to just curve up toward the top of his head. We're going to bring that line all the way over to part way up his ear. And I'm going to just shape this around a little bit more even. Okay, and that's the thing about drawing. You can just kind of keep tweaking it and erasing and going over it until you get what you're happy with. You don't have to make a perfect line every time. You capiche? Okay. Let's brush that out of there so I don't smear it. And we'll give Teddy his other ear, which I'm pretty happy with this one, but I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger with my final lines. And it's just kind of a big hump here on the side. And I'm going to keep this little ear hole kind of right where it is, because I think that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to erase some of these sketchy lines. Now he's really starting to look like a Pokemon. Okay, and I can get rid of some of these lines too. Okay, so what am I missing? Oh, yeah. Teddy's got this big kind of crescent moon shape on his head, and it connects right to his eyes. So I'm just going to, very loose and light, I'm going to start making a curve, big curve, like a crescent moon. And I'm just going to keep shaping that in, and then it comes all the way around this way too. So let's go right from his eye line. Kind of imagine that line coming right through, down to his nose. And kind of imagine it going behind the nose, and it starts to curve back up right around this eyeball. Okay. And then it comes out the top, and it kind of stops. All right, I want this to be a little more of a gap here. Okay, so now here's the tricky part. We're going to start here at the point, and we're going to kind of match this curve, but we're going to start skinny here, and then we're going to fatten this line out like this. So it's wide here, and then it kind of gets skinny, skinny, skinnier till it comes to a point when you come around. We're going to do the same thing all the way around to this one till we get a nice curved line here. Okay. How's yours looking, by the way? Are you drawing with me, or are you watching this first? Because you can watch it first and play it back later, because it's really cool to kind of watch it come to life first, and then once you see me draw it, then you can replay it again and draw it with me, and then you can pause it anytime you want. So you can go back and look at different steps and kind of see how it's done beforehand. So now Teddy is really looking good. It's really looking good. Okay, let's go to his paws, and we're gonna kind of darken this line in on this side to where it meets his body, and then we're going to put in his little claws. So right in the middle, we're just going to make a triangle with a point at the top, of course. And we're going to make 3 of those. Try to make them about the same width every time, because that's how big his claws are. So he's got 3 on that side. And then we're going to come over to this side, and I'm going to bring that line into his body just a little bit. I'm going to darken this line up a little. Maybe I'll bring it in just a hair. Okay, I'm going to erase some of these. Some of my sketch lines. Does anybody know, by the way, how many Pokemon there are in the Pokédex in 2025? If you do, please let me know down in the comments. I think it's over 1,000 Pokemon. That's insane. I wonder if we'll ever get to draw them all. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll just do every single Pokemon. Do you want to do that? That would be cool. All right, we'll see how many we can do. All right, remember, let me know in the comments. Okay, let's come down a little bit from his right arm. We're going to come out from this line a little bit because we want it to look like it's kind of in front of his arm, and or in front of his body. And we're just going to come down from there. I'm just going to darken that to there, and I'm going to skip a little space, and then I'm going to come down and curve this line all the way to where his foot's going to be. Okay, this little line I'm going to take out because his tail's there. Erase some of this. All right, and now I'm going to kind of finalize the shape of his stubby cubby tail here, like so. Okay, take out some of these lines. Brush that off. Okay, now we got it. Now we got it going. Okay, let's go back over here to this arm and give him his claws too. So we're going to do one right in the middle. And these claws can be about the same size as these, maybe a little bit bigger, because you want it to look like it's coming out a little more toward you. This one's closer to you, and this one's a little farther away because he's turned. But either way, that's cool. So he's got 3 of them on that hand. Yep, that's definitely Teddiursa. All right, and let's go down to his foot down here on the bottom. I'm not going to darken this in too much yet because I want to do something. I want to put his toenails in here. So this part of his foot where I'm drawing right now, we're going to come around a little bit. And then we're going to do the first toenail, but this time I'm going to come up into his foot just a little bit. Make a little kind of arching kind of half circle. And then this one is going to come out and point down like this. Okay, now when I take this line out, Check this out. It looks like it's growing, kind of coming out of the top of his toe. Or yeah, his toe. But this one that I'm going to draw next is hidden a little bit just because of the way his foot is angled. So this one I'm going to start right down from the line like that. And then I'm going to come down below it like this. Okay. That looks pretty cool. Okay, now this one we came around with the line for his body back to his foot here. And now I'm going to shape this one out a little bit more. Just kind of define this foot a little bit more as well. And then I'm going to try to make this come out. Yeah, a little more oval like that. Okay, let me take out some of this chicken scratchy lines in here so it's a little bit easier to tell what I'm doing. Okay. And then now I'm going to take and I'm going to put in, he's got a little, underneath his foot here, he's got a little foot pad that protects him when he's walking in the forest. So I'm just going to rough that in. That's just an oval. And then we're going to go to the top of his foot, and I'm going to come down a little bit from the top, and I'm going to kind of shape in that little slightly arched shape for his toenail. Then I'm going to bring it out the top like that. Okay. I'm going to erase this line where his foot is because you wouldn't see that. Now it looks like it's sticking in the right place. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to kind of do the same thing on this side. Little arc shape. And then I'm going to bring this toenail up like this. The same thing on this side here. Okay. Make that stick out a little. Okay, now I can erase this line where his foot was. Now we really got Teddy going, right? Okay, so now the only other line I want to fix is this one. So I'm going to come down a little bit from his mouth before I start this body line. I'm going to come down here like this. Just curve it in like that. Then I'm going to erase a little bit of this so it looks good. And erase some of these chicken scratch sketch lines. Well, there you go, all-stars. There's Teddiursa. Now what? Okay, now we still have some dark lines and stuff and some lines that need cleaned up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a black pen, and I like to use these. These are called microns. Can you see that? Okay, this is an 01, so that's a little bit of a thicker line, and these are great. They are archival, which means they'll last for our whole lifetime. They won't fade, and they draw beautiful. So I'm just going to take his cap off, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over every line that I want to keep in Teddy here, and I'll speed this up a little bit so you can see it, and then we're going to let that ink dry, and then I'll tell you what to do after that. Okay? Okay, hang on. Let me speed this up. All right, gang, there he is. Teddy is all inked. And what I've done is I've waited a couple of minutes to let that ink dry. And once that ink dries, we're going to take just an eraser. It's just a bigger magic rub eraser from Sanford. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to erase all of the pencil lines that we don't want anymore. And I always put a hand on my paper when I'm doing this so it doesn't buckle or crinkle. I'm just going to go very slowly around here. And hopefully I won't have a bunch of pencil shadows or smeary ink. If you don't wait long enough, the ink can smear. Ta-da! There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Oops, I missed a spot. Mr. Teddiursa, number 216 in the Pokédex. One of the most fun, coolest Pokemon. I'm going to go back in and put this line in for his tongue. And now if I want to do anything else, I can go in, I can color his ears black, his eyeballs, his little nose, his little part of the inside of his mouth here. And oh, I'll do that. Let me speed this up and you'll see what he looks like when he's done. Ta-da! There you have it, Art Stars. Mr. Teddiursa from Pokemon is done. Now, the only other thing you could do if you want to is you can color him. So if you have markers, crayons, color pencils, whatever you like to use. But whenever you are done, you can make sure that you sign your masterpiece. And I always put the date on the back too in pencil just so I remember when I drew it. All right, guys, that's all I have for now. Let me know in the comments who you want to draw next. Have a great week, and God bless. See ya.